Destination Marc.
Oh my god, hey guys, how's it going? Marcelo here. I love these shades, look at that. Got Spyro right there. These are awesome. So, E3's over now. Got the shirt as well to represent. Jesus Christ, this was the craziest E3. Being my second one, it, in terms of experience, blows back the first trip from last year. And I did quite a lot last year as well, but I think I did way more this year. Lots of stuff, lots of games, lots of people I met, lots of just good memories to have now, and it was awesome. It was really, really awesome. So, yeah, thoughts videos. Spyro is up first. So, Reignited Trilogy, I played it all 3 days. I don't have the pin on me. I would have had it pinned to my shirt, except that I gave it to my mom because she wanted some Spyro memorabilia as well. So because I can only get one of each thing, I gave her the pin. Don't know where she put it, or else I would have represented it right here. But, so there's that. I got all three little goodies from Spyro. I played the demo all 3 days. So here I'm going to report on how it feels, how it is, and there's a slew of stuff online for you guys to watch as well. B-roll footage, artisans, magic crafters, Sunny Flight, Jordan French got footage of that, exclusive footage of that, which was really awesome. So much footage, new looks at enemies that we haven't seen before in the revamped style, so there's a lot. I'll try and link some stuff. The B-roll on my channel's up. Jordan Fringe's video on Sunny Flight will be there. Yeah, so there's that. So yeah, let's get on to the thoughts on Spyro. Got my list right here. It's not a very long list, but I'm just gonna go over it, I suppose. So the first thing I want to talk about is the controls. It's been kind of flip-floppy with some people on the controls, from us who've experienced it. Those who say that it feels just like the originals, and those of us, which I'm on the side, which say that it doesn't feel quite like the originals, but it still feels good for the most part. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of tweaking left to do with the controls. Mainly the handling. When I say controls, I mean the handling. The controls themselves are mapped pretty much the way you remember them, except that, like I predicted, like Shadow of the Colossus, there are two playstyles confirmed. The differences really only lie in the trigger buttons, the shoulder buttons. So in the demo that we played, L1, I'm not even sure if it did anything. If it was something, it was flame. R1 for a fact was flame, and the back buttons were the roll. So the camera controls for the demo were not mapped to the shoulder buttons like they were in the original. But that style is still its own thing. That's the veteran style, which will still be in Reignited Trilogy, which is awesome. I wanted to have that. It was part of my top 5 hopes from that video, link down below to that. And it's gonna be a theme, so that's awesome. But as per usual, circle is flame, charge is square, jump is X, so you know, it's that stuff. So that in the actual controls button mapping department, that is pretty much fine. The handling is where people are kind of divided, not between it's good and it sucks, but is it faithful or not so faithful but still its own thing. That's kind of where I am right now, because trust me, I just got through playing Spyro 1 all the way through with Jeremiah, not Jeremiah Zayat, but my friend Jeremiah on Vid Games, link down below to that. So, and this is a childhood game, I know how it feels, and the demo did not feel like, Reignited did not feel like the original, but that's not a bad thing. It's very much like Insane Trilogy, where they didn't get it down 100%. It's not going to 100% feel like the way, and with Crash, that's a whole different thing, because Crash 1 from the original, people say, is stiff and kind of slippery. That's its own thing. I'm used to it because that was the first game I ever played, so that I'm used to. With Insane, it's different. They're trying to keep it kind of like the original. The jump arc and stuff has been changed, but in terms of the actual handling, it's its own thing, and for it feels improved from the originals, all three of them. It feels good. Same thing here for Spyro from what I've felt so far with it. It's not the same. There were jumps, which I know I could have made in Tree Tops, particularly the two supercharge challenges where you have to go and get the thieves. So even the first one with the red thief, like that one wasn't. It's not a very hard little thing to do when you know what you're doing, and of course I do know what I'm doing. It's just that the jumping does need to be tweaked a bit. Maybe arc them a bit higher or something. Not that the arc doesn't feel too high. When I thought I would make certain jumps, I had to make sure I like launched off at the very tip of the ramp and just held X all the way through so I can launch myself, and even sometimes I will barely make it. So things like that need to be tweaked to make it a little, make him kind of launch a little higher, a higher bit of an arc, not so much of a tweak to the speed or the descent or whatever. I think it's just how the actual arc goes might need to be a bit higher, but that's all for that. There's one more thing I wanted to mention about the jumping too. Actually, no, it was the lighting. So the lighting in Treetops, while the lighting in Toasty and all that was fine, I didn't have many problems at all with Toasty. Treetops being the tougher level, not even the fact that it was tough, because I do know my way around Treetops. It's just that, again, with the tweaks to that, the handling, it makes some of those jumps actually intimidating. The same way that the bridge levels in Insane kind of feel more intimidating now because Crash's jump was modified. So in a similar way, that happened with Spyro, but with the visuals now, the shading and the lighting, mainly the lighting, there were parts of Treetops, not major parts like where you're doing the speed run, the supercharged challenges, mind you, but like parts with smaller parts, but still something to bring up nonetheless, with like the stairs and all that, the winding staircases. There were parts that were shadowed in to make it darker, that some parts are lit up with torches and some parts are left to be in the shadows. That's fine, but the shadows did seem a bit dark, a little too dark to the parts where you can't really see what's going on there. It's a little too dark, kind of like what was I gonna say here? My brain's melting, man. It's June. I'm sweaty. It's fucking hot. Basically, that thought left my mind. So there's areas where it's too dark. It needs to be lit up a little bit better. Oh, now I remember what I was gonna fucking say. Because in the demo itself, see now in the demo, when you're there in the kiosk, everything's bright in the building. So of course reflections are on the TV and such. So that didn't help matters much, and the fact that there's all these dark areas, you can see like your own reflection and people behind you and whatnot, so it made it hard to see. I thought it was a problem with the kiosk and just where we were located, but watching the B-roll and the gameplay footage of the game and of that level, it's still kind of dark, so I think it just needs some tweaking in general to make it a bit brighter. It's kind of a suffering of the realistic lighting and whatnot, so it's something that they need to consider changing up a bit, just to make it a bit brighter. And again, it's in areas where you're just jumping upstairs and whatnot. It's not the biggest thing, but so you're not stuck and you think you've made the jump and you're just kind of walking and grinding against the stair and you're not going anywhere. I don't know. But yeah, there's areas, the main point being there's areas that are a little too dark and the jumping should be tweaked just a bit. But for the most part, things feel fine and they do look fine. So visuals now. Besides the lighting and stuff, just the way, because I also want to talk about the B-roll as well, just a bit. While these are my thoughts on my experience on the demo, I'm going to throw in little bits and pieces of that B-roll that I uploaded a few days ago. So like, it looks good. It looks very, very good. The lighting in the Artisan's homeworld changed as well. Like we saw with Stonehill. Stonehill, when we saw the very first gameplay of Reignited Trilogy, we could see Stonehill, and like immediately we noticed the difference in the coloring and the lighting, because the lighting had a very, almost to me anyway, like a sunset looking kind of a setting, which I'm fine with. It's not the way it looked in the original, but the fact that they actually went back and changed it so it looked more like the original, of course I'm on board with that. I'm like, okay, cool, it looks like the original now. Same thing with Artisans. While the music is a bit ambient this time around, maybe they might change that, maybe not. It sounds really nice and it's calm. The look of it though is really cool. So I mean, the lighting looks more like it's just set in like a midday kind of setting, and it looks nice. So not much to say there. Oh, Magic Crafters though look really cool. Again, the music was a bit ambient as well there. So maybe it sounds like startup music, like they were like, okay, we'll lay some tracks down and they kind of have a similar feel. And with like the lighting when they were first starting, everything looked like it was in sunset. If it wasn't a dark night theme level or area like Peacemakers, which had its nighttime setting, or Treetops, everything else looked like it was almost set all in the sunset, in like an evening setting. So they're going back through and changing it all now, because it seemed like it was placeholder and it was just temporary, like, okay, let's just drop everything here and we'll fix it up later, but we need to show them something, so here it is. And we were still blown away. It's not like people who are complaining, that's them. But for us, pointing things out about it is a whole other thing. It's about how you go about doing it. So there's that. But it looks good. It looks good, so there's that. So I already talked about music, but the voice acting. So while we don't know all of the voice actors coming in to do NPCs, like all the dragons, and we still don't know really much about Spyro 2 or 3 right now. So we have a picture of Toasty's area where it looks like we can see a bit of, in that little cave area before you actually go and see Toasty, there's a bunch of pictures around, and we can see Autumn Plains from Spyro 2, a little bit of foreshadowing, which is awesome. But besides that, in terms of characters and whatnot, not much besides Greg Berger actually, I guess being confirmed now to be returning as Hunter and Ripto and a bunch of other NPCs. Trouble with the trolley, eh? So that's going to be awesome to see. But with that, yeah, no, we got to hear Tom Kenny, you know, clear as day as Spyro for Spyro 1, and he's got the attitude of Carlos, but that familiar Spyro voice from the originals. Back here, he can still do Spyro's voice the way he did like 20 years ago. So there's that. Nearly 20 years ago. I mean, Spyro 2 was 99, but whatever. So there's that. The dragons, like I was saying, one of them, I want to say it might have been Nevin from Toasty, or one of the ones maybe from Tree Tops. I think it's Nevin. Sounds a lot like he's voiced by Jess Harnell, and I would not be surprised at all, seeing as Jess has a past with Spyro. He was Spyro at one point in A Hero's Tale, so, and Hunter and all of them, so there's that. The dragons look cool as well. From what we've seen so far, all the dragons from Tree Tops and the one, you know, being Nevin from Toasty, they all are individualized, and that's one thing I did want to point out. While the nostalgia fucking child in me is like, I kind of wish that all the, you know, world dragons had a similar body type like they did in the original. It's still really cool, me now seeing it, that they're all being individualized. They don't all look the same. So part of me is like, I kind of wish that at least if they were going to look different in terms of accessories and kind of facial structures, that they would at least all have the same, like, structure of, like, anatomical structure, you know, like sort of for each world. We know that the Beastmaker's dragons are a bit more pudgy, the Magic Crafter's dragons are more skinny with longer necks, so that kind of thing. But the fact that every single solitary dragon is different is still cool, and it's still welcome to me. So I mean, I have no real quarrels with it. It's just the nostalgic kid in me saying I kind of wish they all had their all body types across the different worlds, but that's more of a nitpick than anything. And even still, they are going to keep, it seems, in certain areas for certain dragons, in certain levels, across each homeworld, it looks like some of them will have that familiar body type, because there are 2 dragons in Tree Tops who are Beastmaker's dragons that look portly and fat, and they all do in the original. So some of them are keeping true. That's still cool anyway, so there's that. Yeah, that's kind of about it. So it was just the 2 levels, which you saw when Kyle Bosman played before E3 like really began, is pretty much what we played while we were there at E3. So there's not a whole lot to report on, but the experience, because it's Spyro, like, you know Spyro, so this is pretty much what we're getting. And again, it's not all final. There's still 3 months and 2 games left to see, so there's still a slew of content for Spyro coming to the channel. There's still a lot more stuff to get excited about, and a lot more stuff to report on as soon as all of us who are Spyro fans can find it. So I tend, and I've been doing this for a while now, to report this stuff in bulk. So you're gonna see people like Teal Game Master, Jordan Fringe, Crystal Fissure, like all of them will be doing all their individual videos with every little single thing that comes out. I'll probably just wait to see what comes out when, and then just do it in bulk for Spyro news. So I'll see if I can work it out that way, and we'll see what happens with that. But that's all for this video. What do you guys think? What did you see of Reignited Trilogy for E3? What are you hyped about? What are your concerns? Let me know in the comments down below. Get hyped. 3 months left. I'm Marcelo. We'll see you guys later. Take care.